You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday of getting back at you.
We're living in a very dangerous time right now, and liberalism has lost their cotton-picking mind.
The Trump folks, if they found out how we knew what we knew about the Trump staff's dealing with Russians, that they would try to compromise those sources and methods.
Nobody ever said anything about resisting Obama. They went at him on legitimate arguments.
I really do believe that much of what you saw coming out of Trump's mouth was a play from Putin's playbook.
Welcome to the Abolitionists Roundtable, your all-access pass to exposing fake news, the resistance, and Barack Obama's shadow government undermining American progress. Be a part of the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your all-American hosts, Del Marsh and Phil Stargell.
Greetings. Welcome to your all-American host, Del Marsh. Phil Stargell is out on assignment today. We're going to do this together. Again, we got a lot that we need to talk about, especially Mr. FBI, Mr. Big Man, Mr. Strong Man, Mr. Comey. We saw in this the Capitol Hill testimonies, Comey, we saw the real Comey becoming unmasked. That's what I want to call this the show today. Comey unmasked on Capitol Hill. So we saw this unmasking of Comey on Capitol Hill, and again we found out a little bit more than what we thought we were going to find out. Of course, we found out that Trump, there's no that Trump is not being investigated. We found out that there's no matter. We're going to talk about that word matter again a little bit later in the conversation. Also, we found out that Mr. Big Man Comey, he say that he was that there is no investigation. Okay, hold on. Let me go back for a minute. Is it that it sounds more like it was a character assassination, a problem with the character of President Trump as from what he was trying to position himself, than really talking about the Russian investigation. There is no Russian investigation. There was no Russian collusion at all. This is going from a Russian collusion, what they originally, their original intent was, now to they've turned this into a criminal investigation. And so we seeing the liberals and we seeing Comey a part of the deep state. We're watching him, a part of that deep state, unravel himself, and so we're watching them reveal more and more about nothing. At the end of the day, what they're doing is revealing more and more about nothing. But I have a problem with Mr. Comey talking about how he had to take notes after this meeting that he had with Mr. Trump, and I got a couple of sound bites that we're going to show you, and I'm going to show you that Mr. Comey, on one hand, he's saying he felt very uncomfortable, but on the other hand, Loretta Lynch came and told him something specific, and he was, in addition, there was a meeting on a tarmac with the former Attorney General and former President Bill Clinton, and so we noticed that there was no need for a special investigation into that. We know that prior to his meeting in January with President Trump, this previous administration interfered. We know this, interfered in many elections. Number one of those elections was Israel's election. We know personally. We reported this back last summer that the president meddled in Israel's election. He sent a group of community organizers over there, and it was funded by our tax dollars to try to undermine Benjamin Netanyahu. We know that for sure. We know that. It was a person that used to work with his on his campaign. We named this person. I have to go back and look up this information. But if you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call at 734-822-1600. We're going to have to deal with a little bit of Mr. Comey, the unmasking of Mr. Comey on Capitol Hill. Again, Mr. Comey has also revealed that he is a part of this deep state coup. What I mean by this deep state coup, Mr. Comey revealed that it was himself, that he was a leaker. What? He was a leaker? Yes, absolutely. When you write secure information that was between you and the president, those are national security documents. And so he turned around, just because his friend is a professor at Columbia, that doesn't, he's not he turned around and he gave this information to a friend that turned around that leaked it to the press. He said, I woke up in the middle of the night and I couldn't believe it, that we were having lunch, and I wanted to make sure that if there was any collusion, I got to make sure that my notes are out there, and that I want my notes revealed to the public. Well, he did it wrong. He became a leaker. He became no different than the people that he prosecuted. The people, he became no different than Hillary Clinton with classified information. That was still classified information. And so what he should have did, instead of giving that information to his friend from Columbia, he should have gave that information back to his former department. He should have gave that information back to the FBI, or gave that information back to the Attorney General. But no, he chose to do it a different direction. So here, what we're going to do is, I want to set the table for something here. Before I do that, I'm going to read a couple of headlines. This is from NBC. It says, who is Daniel Richman, the Columbia professor who leaked Comey's Trump's memos? Again, another headline. This is from the Washington Examiner. It says that James Comey, Loretta Lynch told me not to call the Clinton email probe an investigation. Remember, it was not an investigation. The talking point that they went with, matter of fact, did you know that the talking point that Loretta Lynch told him to use was the same talking point from the campaign? So the FBI talking point was consistent with the Clinton administration, the Clinton campaign talking points. You notice that? You smell a rat? Now, again, Comey, he's building up that now he's no choir boy, but liberals have made him out to be a choir boy now. Prior to that, they couldn't stand him. They thought that he was that he was the worst person on the earth. But now, they behind him. They believe that he's gonna help them with this witch hunt, and we can see to the contrary. There's nothing there. There was never nothing there when he had this meeting with here. So what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna set the table first. I'm gonna go backwards, because this is an exchange when Comey said something about President Trump, that he didn't know if he was going to try to lie on him. Okay, so and again, this was President Trump was just he just been elected. This is in January, when they decided to have a meeting. They had this meeting, and it was Comey that asked that everybody else clear out, that he was going to reveal confidential information to him. And so we're going to set this table, and then we're going to go to a break with a soundbite number 4. We're going to go to soundbite number 4 first, and then we're going to set the table for something, and then we're going to reveal a little bit about the inconsistency in Mr. Comey's story. All right. So, Derek, if you can go ahead and do number 4 for me.
My understanding is you remained afterwards to brief him on, again, quote, some personally sensitive aspects of the information you relayed. Now, you said after that briefing, you felt compelled to document that conversation, that you actually started documenting it as soon as you got into the car. Now, you've had extensive experience at the Department of Justice and at the FBI. You've worked under presidents of both parties. What was it about that meeting that led you to determine that you needed to start putting down a written record?
A combination of things. I think the circumstances, the subject matter, and the person I was interacting with. Circumstances first, I was alone with the President of the United States, or the President-elect, soon to be President. The subject matter, I was talking about matters that touch on the FBI's core responsibility and that relate to the President-elect personally. And then the nature of the person. I was honestly concerned that he might lie about the nature of our meeting, and so I thought it really important to document. That combination of things I'd never experienced before, but it led me to believe I got to write it down, and I got to write it down in a very detailed way.
All right. So, okay, we're going to, I want you to digest that for a minute. We're going to go to a break. And on the other side, we're going to reveal something about that statement right there that Comey said about President-elect, the President-elect. And then we're going to try to build a case around, okay, so if you thought that he was going to be a liar. It was you that asked for this private meeting. It was you that, again, he had no idea about the information that you were going to share with him. And so the information that you share with him, if he were a little uneasy with this information, don't you think that it's not that he was going to be a liar? He was very uneasy with the information that you revealed to him about him personally. Now, again, you said he was not under investigation. We know he was not under investigation. But then you also said that you since July of last year that y'all been looking at this matter. Is it a matter or an investigation of a collusion? Again, we know that something that was made up. And if you listen to the opening statement, if you listen to the opening of the show, we reveal some very telling sound bites of some people. And so here, again, I'm getting ahead of myself. If you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call at 734-822-1600. So we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to continue this, and I want to try to set the tables for something. But I want you to be a part of this, setting the table on Comey and revealing that Mr. Comey is not a choir boy, that it was Mr. Comey that is that's the leaker, that's Mr. Comey that's been dishonest, it's Mr. Comey I don't know, is he colluding with the Russians to undermine American progress? On one hand, he said that he want the best for America, but then on the other hand, there's a manipulation. There's not. We see more and more of the truth coming out, and the truth is not coming from him. But we can see we can, if we go back and look at the consistency of things he's saying, the things that he's saying now, we can start to put together the story. Again, they're hiding, liberals and the deep state and this FBI are hiding that the truth is that all this is a show. There is no Russian investigation. Okay, so there might have been a Russian collusion. Okay, so reveal the Russian collusion and let's move on. No, it's not about just revealing that information. It's about bringing down this administration. It's about discrediting the president. It's about discrediting the people. Folks, this was somebody who came from the outside, never was a politician in their life, a businessman, and said, I wanted to run for the president of the United States, whether you like him or dislike it. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm not talking about the character of the person. I'm talking about that it's the establishment. Every person in the establishment has a gun on him right now. Not figuratively, they have a gun on this man. Everybody is trying to take him down because an outsider cannot come in and disturb what we have going on here. So we're going to go to a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that.
This is the Abolitionists Roundtable on WAAM TALK1600. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, back to your hosts, Del and Phil.
All right, greetings. Thank you for joining us one more time. Again, this is the Abolitionist Roundtable. This is your host, Del Marsh, sitting in the driver's seat. We know our co-host, Phil Stargell, is out on assignment, but I want you to join the conversation. And you can join the conversation at 734-822-1600. Let me say it a little slower, 734-822-1600. Again, we're talking about Comey, the unmasked on Capitol Hill. Comey was unmasked on Capitol Hill. Here, one of the headlines, this is from the New York Post. It says, Comey suspected Loretta Lynch was working with Clinton. Again, he suspected. Now, what he had his meeting with President Trump, and he said that he's in this private meeting with him, and he thought that he was going to turn around and lie on or be dishonest to whoever, to his administration, to others about him, but Mr. Comey was kind of very disingenuine, because on one hand, you coming into here, this is somebody that's the president-elect. You coming in, you say, okay, I want to brief you on some other private information, and that private information you want to reveal to him is personally about him. But then during that first meeting, this is from the Washington Post. Comey told Trump during the first meeting that he wasn't personally being investigated. He wasn't personally being investigated at all. Okay, Mr. Comey, there's some inconsistencies here. On one hand, you said that you thought that he was going to be disingenuine about your meeting. You had to start documenting these meetings. Matter of fact, I didn't hear you say anything about you should have started. You should have been that you were documenting some of these the things that your former boss, the former attorney general, that you believe was working with Clinton. You didn't say anything about. You didn't say anything about your former boss when she told you not to use the word investigation, but to use the word matter. You didn't feel like that was a problem at all. But again, are you a part of some kind of conspiracy to undermine the American progress, undermine our laws, undermine America? And so again, on one hand, you said that, well, hey, I just, again, I didn't know what he would do. So we have some inconsistencies here. We have, what we're looking at is that on one hand, you're saying that again from the Washington Post, that you told him during that first meeting, no, you're not under investigation at all. But we're looking into this Russian collusion. Russian collusion of what? Are you saying that now, again, they keep saying that it was Trump? You heard Maxine Waters said a number of times that there was a collusion between Russia and the Trump administration to undermine Clinton's the presidential the election that we just held in November. Again, this is just it's because an outsider, they can't believe an outsider, somebody that's not a part of the establishment, somebody that don't know how things work there, of somebody that don't know that we get things done when we want to get things done. There's a process here. There's an old boy or old girl network that goes on here. And we don't want the American people to know that if we want to get something done, I mean, it's easily for us to get it done, but we want them to know that that we have to all come together. We all have to sing Kumbaya. But at the end of the day, we know whether you're Democrat or Republican, to be honest, in that establishment, folks, we know right now that Republicans are not working on laws right now. They're not working on still moving this government along because they're waiting on waiting to see what the outcome of this is going to be. When they know that this was made up. It was made up. The whole thing was made up. And so we're going to go to another soundbite. Now, again, Comey said that when he had this private conversation with President Trump, he didn't know when he came out if he was what was the outcome. So he had to ahead of time make sure that his side of the story came out. He wanted to make sure that he documented everything. Again, and from what he said, he revealed during this. The Capitol Hill questioning, he revealed himself. Okay. All right. Well, we got to go to a break. I got some other things, but I want you to be involved in this right here because we want to set the table. We want to make sure that Comey take full responsibility, the FBI, because he's bringing down the integrity of this department. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
You're listening to the Abolitionists Roundtable with your hosts, Del and Phil. They're exposing the left's underground resistance while leading the charge in the fight for liberty. Join the conversation at 734-822-1600.
Hello, I'm Milt, and this is Logically Speaking Uncensored. Democrat Party rewrite revisionist history must be stopped. When a nation allows its history to be corrupted with rewrite revisionism, the integrity of national history will cease to exist. In George Orwell's classic novel, 1984, the maniacal dictator Big Brother had a department whose assignment was to rewrite and revise history that was positive for Big Brother and remove that which was negative. Since the 1960s, the Democrat Party has made rewrite revisionist history an obsession in a frantic effort to eliminate evidence of their deplorable deeds of enslaving blacks and their support for the Confederacy, the Ku Klux Klan, and racism. And to implement their rewrite revisionism, they adopted the strategy of Big Brother in order to extricate themselves as facilitators of slavery and the Civil War that took the lives of over 600,000 fellow Americans. In the book, 100 Years of Slavery by Ralph Ginsberg, there are numerous real-life newspaper excerpts which detail the atrocities inflicted upon blacks with Democrat Party approval. Today, the Democrat Party has placed many blacks, their most loyal supporters who supply the margin of victory needed for them to win national elections, in their ideological petri dish, where with revisionist history, they have acculturated them into a mindset that has them helping Democrats hide evidence of their crimes of human bondage and unspeakable brutalities upon their black ancestors. The success of rewrite revisionism is reflected in the fact that many blacks have invalidated their legitimate history by abandoning the names colored, Negro, and black for the moronic misnomer African American. In New Orleans, a museum of Confederate history was closed when displaying the Confederate flag was deemed to be racist by petri dish acculturated blacks who failed to realize that the Democrat Party and the Confederates were one and the same. The Democrat Party rewrite revisions of history is an attempt to reinvent themselves as the paragons of civil rights, especially for Black Americans. But their fascist intrigues cannot continue because the Confederacy, the Civil War, and the Democrat Party history are inseparable as major episodes of American history. Therefore, removing Confederate flags, memorials, and statues as a protest against racism is meaningless if the Democrat Party, hiding in the background, pretending to be innocent bystanders, are not held accountable for their evil racist past. If American unabridged history is to be passed to future generations, the treachery of the Democrat Party fascist rewrite revisionist history must be stopped. Because if it continues, the Democrat Party's next efforts could be book burnings, and the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and Christian Bibles will not be exempted. I am Milt, logically speaking, uncensored, saying, think about it.
All right, thank you, Milt, for sending that down. Again, Milt does a great commentary. All right, so we're going back again. We're talking about the unmasking of Comey that happened on Capitol Hill. There was an unmasking of Comey that happened on Capitol Hill. And so if you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call at 734-822-1600. All right, so I'm going to go back for a minute. Now, I'm going to go to soundbite number 2. Again, this is during his testimony. So he swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. And so he said this under oath. And so we're going to go to soundbite number 2, Derek, if you don't mind. And then when I get back, we're going to elaborate on that a little bit.
Incredibly. And then you made a comment earlier about the Attorney General, previous Attorney General, asking you about the investigation on the Clinton emails, saying that you've been asked not to call it an investigation anymore, but to call it a matter. And you had said that confused you. Can you give us additional details on that?
Well, it concerned me because we were at the point where we had refused to confirm the existence, as we typically do, of an investigation for months. And it was getting to a place where that looked silly because the campaigns were talking about interacting with the FBI in the course of our work. The Clinton campaign at the time was using all kinds of euphemisms, security review, matters, things like that for what was going on. We were getting to a place where the Attorney General and I were both going to have to testify and talk publicly about it. And I wanted to know, was she going to authorize us to confirm we had an investigation? And she said, yes, but don't call it that, call it a matter. And I said, why would I do that? And she said, just call it a matter. And again, you look back in hindsight, you think, should I have resisted harder? I just said, all right, this isn't a hill worth dying on. And so I just said, okay, the press is going to completely ignore it. And that's what happened. When I said, we have opened a matter, they all reported the FBI has an investigation open. And so that concerned me because that language tracked the way the campaign was talking about the FBI's work, and that's concerning.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Comey. That's very telling right there. You just said that it tracked. It would help lead the campaign. So, can I say that you were colluding with the Attorney General to help navigate the Clinton campaign? Can I say that I know you said that you were very concerned about, and you thought it wasn't something to die over. But again, I wonder, did you start documenting this? Did you start writing this in your book? These conversations that you had with the Attorney General when she was telling you to mislead the American people so that we can stay on the same talking points as the Clinton campaign. Mr. Comey, I mean, you're an FBI agent. You FBI the director. You don't have any independent thought of your own. any independent thought? Didn't the previous Attorney General AG say that the American people was going to get an independent investigation on the Clinton scandal that was going on the Clinton email investigation, on the Clinton debacle, on everything that involved the Clinton administration, the Clinton campaign, Mrs. Clinton prior to the campaign, but no, I mean, you were concerned about the talking points of what when you told President, the president now, but you told Mr. Trump a number of times. This is from the Business Insider. It says Comey told Trump 3 times that he was not under investigation, but he refused to publicly say so, infuriated Trump. Okay, and then it goes on, it says James Comey, the FBI director, said that he told President Trump on 3 occasions that he wasn't the subject of a counterintelligence investigation, but Trump was upset with Comey, who would not say it publicly. Why can't you say it publicly? Publicly, you just used propaganda to mislead the American people. On the orders of Loretta Lynch. Loretta Lynch probably got these talking points from the Obama administration. The Obama administration was working with the Clinton administration on how to navigate around this, how to mislead the American people. And you were a part of this misleading. And so where's the choir boy at? Where's this independence of your department? You said it's not anything to fight over, but you helped navigate. You helped mislead us. You helped navigate the Clinton administration. You said it wasn't under investigation at all. And it goes on to say that the reason why he didn't want, it says in the testimony it published in the Senate Intelligence Committee on Wednesday, Comey also said that the main reason that he did not publicly announce that Trump that Trump was not part of the Bureau's Russian probe was that it would create a duty to correct should that change. Well, no. What you do is you tell the truth then. You tell the truth. What the truth at that particular time he was not under investigation. You don't turn around and say, well, I didn't do it publicly because it could have turned around and changed. You told the American people, Mr. Comey, Mr. Big Time FBI Director, that Hillary Clinton was not under investigation, but it was a matter. And you help navigate. You help with the talking points of the campaign, of her campaign. You misled the American people. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. But then you turn around and say, you know what, I couldn't say, I told him on a number of occasions privately that he was not under investigation. But just in case it changed, I didn't want to turn around. I didn't want to say it publicly. And then if we had to have a correction, or if things should change, that's his correct wording. If things should change, well, if things had changed, then you make an announcement that things had changed. So, Mr. Comey, you and Loretta Lynch, you have been misleading the American people. You have been misleading us the whole time. So if you've been misleading us on this probe, this intelligence, on the Russian probe, then we could start reading between the lines that there's something fishy going on, and the fishiness that's going on is you, sir. You. Matter of fact, Derek, if you don't mind getting prepared for me, soundbite number, we're going to reveal that Mr. Comey is a part of the deep state. He's the leaker. Can you believe that he is the leaker? We're going to go to soundbite number 3 for a minute, Derek. Go to soundbite number 3.
Yes.
And finally, did you show copies of your memos to anyone outside of the Department of Justice?
Yes.
And to whom did you show copies?
I asked, President tweeted on Friday after I got fired that I better hope there's not tapes. I woke up in the middle of the night on Monday night, because it didn't dawn on me originally, that there might be corroboration for our conversation, there might be a tape. And my judgment was I needed to get that out into the public square. And so I asked a friend of mine to share the content of the memo with a reporter. Didn't do it myself for a variety of reasons, but I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel.
Okay, hold on there for a minute. Hold on there for a minute. Okay, Mr. Comey. Mr. Law Enforcement Officer, okay, I have a real problem with this right here. This conversation that you had with him, this was a private conversation you had with the most powerful man in the position of the free world, and you think that it's okay as a former FBI agent, well, I'm a private citizen now. No, no, sir, wait a minute. You are a private citizen. Yes, you are a private citizen, but you leaked information. This information that's national security information. That's national security information, Mr. Big Time, Mr. Big Guy, Mr. FBI, Mr. Law Enforcement Officer that colluded with Loretta Lynch. And you turned around and just because your buddy is a professor at Columbia Law School, that does not mean that you can turn around and you can reveal this information, secure information, national security information. This is from a private conversation about national security stuff. You don't just leak this to the press. You a leaker. You're a part of the deep state, sir. Can you believe this? I can't believe somebody that's Mr. Big Time, Mr. FBI director, the highest law enforcement officer in the United States. I mean, the FBI has always been a feared and very, very, very. I mean, people always. I got a friend that I know that's a FBI agent, and you know what? I always thought that somebody working that department, man, just the level of that you have to be on to be a part of that department. And I'm seeing you grinding that department down, grinding it down. I know you had your big speech that you gave to your former colleagues, and you told them you're sorry that I'm gonna have to cough that you that you wasn't able to say goodbye, that you learned that you were fired on television. Okay, Derek, let's finish that up. We're gonna go to another break, and because we're revealing, we're trying to set the table that Mr. Comey Unmasked on Capitol Hill. We see the real Comey. We see that he was a part of this collusion. We don't know now that was the Attorney General a part of a collusion with the Russians to undermine the American people. If they can come up with this collusion that the Trump administration was a part of this collusion to undermine our election, and we hear him, and we hear him over and over say that Loretta Lynch told him to call it a matter. She told him, and he blew it off. Did he say he wrote this in his memos, in these private documents? But he had to make sure that he documented things when he met with President Trump for the first time, and from that point on, he met with him over 9 times. But in a number of occasions, over and over and over, he told him he was not a part of this investigation. But publicly, he could not say that. But publicly, he go out and mislead the American people, mislead us, every one of us. If you want to go ahead and continue, then we're going to go to a break, Derek.
Trying to do it.
And was that Mr. Wittes?
No, no.
Who was that?
A good friend of mine who's a professor at Columbia Law School.
Thank you.
Okay, so again, he trying to set the table that my good friend of mine that's a professor at Columbia Law Is he a part of the FBI? Is he a part of the CIA? Is he a part of the Intelligence Committee? No, he wasn't. The Intelligence Bureau? No, he wasn't. Mr. Comey, you should not have done that. You're undermining. You're no different than this young girl, reality winner. You know, reality winner. She's a NSA contractor, and I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to get into that. But they found out when they went to her house and were taking stuff out of her house that reality winner, she wanted to burn down the White House. She wanted to, this summer, she wanted to travel over in Afghanistan. She wanted to undermine, she hated this administration. And why does she hate this administration so much? Because of what the Democrats, the deep state, and what Mr. Comey has done. They set the table for this. They set the table for this anger and bitterness all across America right now. Because an independent American that never ran for office before wanted to say that, you know what? Matter of fact, he was a liberal. He identified more with them. He enjoyed the parties with them. They got to he donated to their causes. He was their friend. But because he was an independent person outside of politics, and said that, you know what's going on in America, not the best, not the most polished, that's okay. I know we all hate his tweets. And I've said this publicly, that I think that they should have a communication department, that every tweet, that all information must go through this communications department prior to, so that every person can stay consistent. So that, and then also so that they can, before any tweets go out, they can make corrections, they can spelling errors or whatever it is, but we need to stay consistent. Well, it looked like I'm not going to go to a break because we're coming up on the end of the show. But I want to just say this right here, Mr. Comey. You disappointed the American people, Mr. Comey. I'm gonna have to do a part two to Comey Unmasked on Capitol Hill. But I want to say that, you know, as a co-topic, that Comey has revealed that he's part of the deep state coup. He is part of it. That it's him and Loretta Lynch. He conspired with her. He conspired with the Clinton administration, even though he might not have had direct contact. But his former boss got the talking point, and they stayed consistent with the talking point that was on the campaign trail. So, unfortunately, Mr. Comey, you just conspired with them. You was conspiring to undermine the American people, to undermine the progress, to undermine to undermine this election in November last year. You were a part of that right there, because of some of the things that you said, because you did not stand up to your former boss. You did not stand up to your former boss. And so I got one more. We're going to go ahead and so we got one more soundbite. And folks, I want you to go to our website, artofmichigan.com. If you believe that a show like this, independent, folks, it's more and more shows like this is going to start popping up all around America. We can't trust there's no trust in fake news anymore. We can't trust the news media. There's no trust. And you know why there's no trust? Because they get their talking points, or it's not that they get their talking points from Comey and others. Right now they're leading the way. The press is leading the way to undermine us. And the Democrat Party is riding on the coattails this fake news. They're riding on the coattails of it. The news media, the press, the national press is a part of the campaign to mislead us. And so we got one more that we're going to go to. Let me see which one it is. And we're going to go to number one, Derek, and then we're going to get ready to conclude.
Probably the only other consideration that I guess I can talk about in open setting is that at one point the Attorney General had directed me not to call it an investigation, but instead to call it a matter, which confused me and concerned me. But that was one of the bricks in the load that led me to conclude I have to step away from the department if we're to close this case credibly.
All right. If you felt uncomfortable with that right there, you should have resigned. Again, she gave you the talking points. And again, you say, I wanted to be independent of this right here. I wanted to make sure that the FBI, the integrity of the FBI was protected. But then you still stayed consistent. I mean, here you exonerated Hillary Clinton, and you told her publicly, after you listed all the things that the wrongdoings of her. Matter of fact, the emails, you let her admit, her lawyers look at the emails prior to you receiving them. Folks, go to our website, artofmichigan.com. We need your support. And folks, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much. God bless America.
The Abolitionist Roundtable invites the WAAM TALK1600 listeners to continue the roundtable discussions by mailing correspondence to Art of Michigan, Post Office Box 135, Garden City, Michigan 48135.
Or follow Phil Delanjanis at artofmichigan.com. You can also send emails to artofmichigan@hotmail.com. And most of all, continue to listen every Saturday and tell a friend.